Okay, we are live, and I wanted to take a minute to talk about a post that I put on LinkedIn that has blown up. We've been talking about the end of traditional distribution in the heavy duty parts industry. Now, it's been my long held belief that the evolution of the technology available and what we've seen happen in other industries and other retail industries with the Amazon effect is going to have its full impact on the heavy duty parts industry in the 2020s. Actually, as 2019 came to a close, I kept saying, I think the 2020s are going to be a tumultuous decade. I had no idea, of course, that a pandemic was going to hit and we were going to have a total economic collapse equivalent to the Great Depression. But that doesn't even really scratch the surface of the problem I'm talking about, which is the eventual end of traditional distribution. I really believe that people are wanting a change. They want access to the parts. And, I've been to a lot of different trade seminars and big, corporate events where companies that are distributing heavy duty parts, they talk about customer buying experience. It's CX, customer buying experience. And they talk about how they want to improve the customer buying experience. But here's the thing. See this? When I take this and I press a button and the part I need shows up 2 hours later, there's no better customer buying experience than that. And so I think that as the younger generations are taking over more and more senior positions, we're reaching a tipping point. We're crossing over a barrier where we're going to see an acceleration of e-commerce in our industry. And I think what's going to happen is I think one major manufacturer, kind of an all makes manufacturer, is going to make the decision to go first and to flip that switch. And they're going to abandon traditional distribution. And I think whoever that distributor is, probably over the last 5 years, they've been expanding warehouses. They've been building up end user data so that they'll be able to market directly. And when they make that flip, or when they flip that switch, they make that decision, I think all hell is going to break loose in the industry. You're going to have manufacturers being forced to make a decision. Some manufacturers are going to double down on the distribution model that exists today, where they're going to sell through their distributor stores. Other manufacturers are going to maybe very hastily throw up an e-commerce site. This is going to make their distribution freak out, and there's going to be a whole bunch of conflict there. Ultimately, I think when the dust settles, what's going to happen is there's going to be one or two big winners and there's going to be a whole bunch of losers. And I think that's going to really hurt the industry, especially in the short term. There's going to be a lot of job loss. The big problem is with a local distributor, they stock inventory, and that's awesome. And they have knowledgeable parts people, and that's important. But as the technology develops, like Truck Parts Premium that's powered by diesel laptops and Truck Parts Lookup, when those kinds of technologies reach their full maturity, and people are going to be able to look up their parts without a VIN number, they're not going to need that knowledgeable parts person. And besides, that knowledgeable parts person they've been relying on for the last 25, 30 years is probably retiring soon anyway. And so when they're able to go on to their device and they're able to just press a couple buttons, year, make, model, find the part they're looking for, hit buy now, and the delivery system is advanced enough that those parts will be delivered within a couple hours, that's it. It's over for traditional distribution. Hey, tell me I'm wrong. Prove to me I'm wrong. But when I look at what happened to you know, other industries, we've had a whole bunch of industries in retail go ahead of us, and those industries, just turning off my ringer here, sorry about that, those industries have suffered the same fate. And I don't think it's reasonable to think that we're going to be some sort of exception. It's just not. It's going to happen. And so we need to do something to prepare ourselves, because the adoption of technology is going to happen. When I took my last sales job before I started the heavy duty parts report and became an independent sales consultant, I had an opportunity to drive around and meet all the new customers in my territory. And I was working for a traditional distribution company with a traditional retail model. And I was their outside salesperson. And the salesperson I was replacing, great guy, but 70 years old. And all the young mechanics, I would say 35 and under, they were like high fiving me because I was willing to text with them. You see, the newer generations, they grew up using technology. This is not a surprise. We want to use technology. We want to become more efficient. We always talk about the shortage of repair technicians. Well, one of the ways that we can address that issue is by making the actual job experience of a repair technician more efficient, giving them access to better tools, allowing them to not have to spend so much time sourcing parts, but rather fixing trucks where they should be. And whether you're the repair technician that has to do that or the shop owner, regardless, a large portion of your time is around sourcing parts. And as soon as that technology evolves to a point where it's reliable and dependable and the right part shows up the first time, that's it. That is it. It is game over for traditional distributors. And I feel for the leadership groups of some of these big companies, especially some of the ones that have rolled up a whole bunch and they've grown a lot in the last few years. Because like imagine in the early 2000s if you were the CEO of Blockbuster. And imagine that you went into the boardroom and you told the board that your big plan was to close 9,000 plus stores, lay everybody off. And instead of charging $7 per movie rental, you're going to charge $7 a month for the entire library of content. You would have had a very difficult time convincing the board of Blockbuster to do that. And only a short few years later, Blockbuster was bankrupt and gone forever. Now think of some of the other retailers, the big ones, well-funded companies, a lot bigger than some of the distributors that I'm talking about. They're at risk, and there's a lot of people's jobs at risk, which is really scary for a lot of people. That's why we have to continue to double down on finding ways of providing value. And I think when all of this breaks loose, and I think that these technology becomes fully formed, people start using it, and the decline of the traditional distributor starts to accelerate. I think what you're going to see is I think you're going to see a bunch of entrepreneurial companies emerge both on the manufacturing and on the supply side. And I think you're going to find people are going to have scaled down companies that are very niche in what they manufacture and very niche in the service and the support that they provide people. And so I think that once those couple big winners kind of take over the e-commerce space, and that could be Amazon and maybe like one other, uh, if you don't find a way to provide significant value to the marketplace, you're going to be gone. And that's what it's all about. We get rewarded by the amount of value that we create in the marketplace. That's what a free market is based on. And as long as we're living in a society where this free market exists, the people who figure out how to provide the most value in the marketplace are going to do fine. And that involves us fundamentally changing the way we think. We have to reimagine how to do business in the heavy duty parts industry. We have to reimagine how it's going to operate. I mean, we're not even talking about the changing from diesel to electric and other alternative fuel sources and power sources. This industry is going to be rocked by by technology. I've often said it's like standing on the beach and the tsunami wave is rising in front of us and it's rolling in fast. And that wave is disruption. And a lot of industries have gone before us and really suffered through this. And I think it's going to be the same for us. But I have faith that the people in this industry are resourceful, they're tough. A lot of them are entrepreneurial. And, Steve Jobs said it best when he talked about how, he was reflecting on his cancer and that death was imminent. And he said that death is a change agent, for it clears away the old and makes room for the new. And I really think that it's not death, but it's disruption. And disruption is also a change agent that clears away the old and makes way for the new. And that's really exciting. Thank you very much for tuning in to this live broadcast, and I look forward to doing many, many more. Tune into the Heavy Duty Parts Report. You can go over to my website, jamieirvin.ca or theheavydutypartsreport.com. It'll land you on the same place. Hit the subscribe button at the top. You get a drop-down list. You can subscribe here on YouTube. You can subscribe to your favorite podcast player. We're putting out weekly episodes. We talked to Ed Burris this week of Card Connect, talked all about credit card security and pay portal safety. big subject for repair shops and for part stores that have to deal with the public, people that are coming and going from town. You don't know them. They're not good clients of yours. And, sometimes people do try to rip you off. So we talked about security there. Also, we negotiated a great deal at Rock Pro. So if you have a windshield chip and you want to fix that before the windshield is destroyed and you have to replace it, save yourself a lot of money. Go over to rockpro.info. And as you check out, use coupon code HDPR for Heavy Duty Parts Report, HDPR, for a 10% discount today. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.